notion of chance, according to Merriam-Webster, can be defined as something that happens unpredictably without discernible human intention or observable cause, whilst art is defined as the conscious use of skill, taste, and creative imagination in the production of an aesthetic object. While comparing these two words, art and chance, one may deny any relationship they have to one another. How could the two, so opposite, merge? How could chance ever produce art, a process which supposedly requires the act of consciousness and coherency? This exhibition will attempt to reconcile the notions of art and chance by exploring how random processes and elements of chance dictate, or at the very least stimulate, the creation of art. The exhibition will present my own work and pieces produced by surrealists, Dada, and abstract artists, as well as synthesis representations of other artists and poets' work, framed within an art object that I created. With this, I intend to investigate how art, produced under the conditions of automatism, spontaneity, and gestural performance, provide the artist with the ability to acquire agency, as there is a release of constraints from the rational world, thus allowing for the active chance, performance, as well as the subconsciousness of the artist, to outrank the final visual product itself. I began this drawing with no perceived subject matter or composition in mind. Like a medium, channeling a spirit, I let my pen travel rapidly across the paper, without conscious control. I soon found hints of images including hidden doors and stairways, as well as spewing circular forms, emerging from the abstract, lace-like, and frenzied web of pen marks. I find that my violent use of the pen emanated an almost palpable sense of my own artistic presence. This physical and intense experience was born out of chance, ergo the random placing of my pen. Moreover, it could also be a representation of my own anxious and uneasy subconscious. It is worth noting that this drawing was carried out at the beginning of this project, when I was unsure where the theme of chance would take me. Art plays random composition by dropping painted pieces of paper onto a surface, pertaining to the Dada technique. This act of chance was set against the rational order that had led to the war: mechanization, organization, and nationalism. Through the act of chance, art is able to actively engage with his artistic agency by using this Dada technique as a political response to a world organized by supposed logic and reason. In his text, Art and Agency, Alfred Gell noted that Pollock's works have no subject at all except the agency of Jackson Pollock himself. They are self-portraits of a man in frenzied ballistic activity. We do see this in Autumn Rhythm as the spectator's eyes races across the vast canvas, a reaction to Pollock's frenzied action painting performance, with his own physicality imbued within the painting. While Pollock was able to control the parameters of his work, such as the colour of the paint, it was chance, ultimately, that determined where the paint would drip onto the canvas. The technique of action painting therefore highlights a performative facet to Pollock's method, as the sporadic and arbitrary paint drops culminate to form an overall picture of a man in a frantic act of artistic expression. The 19th century poet Stéphane Mallarmé took on the structures of chance with his extended poem, A Throw of the Dice Will Never Abolish Chance. Setting out his poem typographically, he appeared to embrace the random. With this art object, I have taken an excerpt from Mallarmé's poem. Chance. falls the feather rhythmically, suspended from the accident to bury itself in original foams, not long ago as far as his frenzy leapt to a top, withered by the same neutrality of an abyss. I chose to include a reference to Mallarmé because he was one of the first poets to truly embrace the random and the illogical, representing a release from the constraints of a world that was propelled by order. The entire city is an oil painting on paper mounted on canvas by the German surrealist artist Max Ernst. The painting depicts a cityscape comprised of a mass of geometric forms set against a deep blue sky. This piece was put into the exhibition because Max Ernst uses the technique of grottage, incorporating unexpected marks and shapes, which imbue the work with an element of chance. Interestingly enough, it is the use of chance that actually provides the work with a sense of efficacy, because by placing layered textured structures that were not a conscious act, it actually appears that the city might be in ruin. Therefore, Ernst utilises the notion of chance to imbue a sense of reality into the work. This object was included in the collection because it physically encapsulates elements of chance. In 1964, Duchamp explained, "This experiment was made in 1913 to imprison and preserve forms obtained through chance, through my chance." End quote. At the same time, the unit of length, 1 metre, was changed from a straight line to a curved line, without actually losing its identity as the metre, and yet casting a metaphysical doubt on the concept of a straight edge as being the shortest route from one point to another. His technique which carried this out was made by dropping 3 threads, each a metre long, from a height equal to their length, then cutting wooden rulers to recall the shape in which each had fallen. Duchamp describes these as a preserved metre, a preserved chance. Building on the Duchampian concept of chance, I let my pen drop onto the paper, forming 12 randomly placed dots. I then proceeded to join all the lines up, and as many as possible, forming a web-like structure, illustrating the interconnectivity between the dots. The final visual product resembled a lattice work of string, demonstrating how the element of chance is able to create complex and intricate designs that bear a visual mark of the penmanship of the artists themselves. Another 19th century poet, Isidore Ducasse, was a continual inspiration to the surrealists. His extraordinary juxtapositions of unrelated imagery became a point of departure. I have transferred Ducasse's words into the art object. The reference to chance and the improbability of beauty in the poem, plus the use of surrealist dislocation with the words, creates a compendium of arbitrary imagery and a striking poetic image. Thus, the very nature of the unplanned and the unexpected in this art object acts as an index for Ducasse to harness his own agency by contributing to the surrealist movement through poetry. The exquisite corpse is yet another example of chance dictating the creation of art, as the artist creates a variety of possibilities, sometimes leaving it up to the roll of a dice to determine which image will appear within the body, making it very much about the activities and performative process that contributes towards the creation of art through playing games of chance. Our final object is my second attempt at an automatic drawing. Although the process was carried out in exactly the same way as the first try, the end result turned out completely different. Therefore, through chance, we also find variety and a sense of multifariousness. In this piece, there is an absence of violence and brute force of the pen like in the first. Instead, we find smooth, delicate and sinuous lines that cascade and circulate the page. Perhaps a reflection of my own calm subconscious that has been pacified after completing this exhibition. It could be seen that, even with chance, a strong sense of my own personhood still remains imbued within the lines of this automatic drawing.